Awesome. So, hi everyone. We are here with Coach Stephanie, and we're going to be talking about her journey on the stage and also a little bit about post show and answering a lot of questions that we typically get when it comes to that. So, I'm going to give her the reins a little bit. And, you just want to tell us like what got you into competing and kind of your journey thus far getting into it.
Yeah. So, hi everybody, Coach Stephanie. Um, so I guess when I first started competing, that was like 2017, I think. 16 or 17, something like that. And I was just fresh off of postpartum, stay-at-home mom, newly married, um, all these lovely life changes all at once, pretty much. And I packed on a lot of weight. I would drink maybe a bottle of wine a night just to myself, and it eventually caught up to me. And one day I just like looked in the mirror and was like, gross. um, and My journey started at home, basically. I just did started with Beachbody workouts in my living room, and I would do those workouts every day as soon as I would put my kiddo down for a nap. And so as she got older, it was harder to manage to get my workouts in. And then I started going to the gym out super early in the morning because that was like the only time it would like work with my schedule between husband working and having to be home by a certain time and all that stuff. So, um, I was never a morning person, but that was like the only thing that, you know, my only choice at that moment in time to get it done without distractions. And so I quickly became a morning person to get that done. Um, and then I was on a schedule for a couple years, um, maybe, yeah, a couple solid years going to the gym at 5 a.m. Every day. And then I just got burnt out and lost motivation. And then I decided I want to compete. And the only reason why I decided that was just because I needed something else to keep pushing me along besides just showing up to the gym every day, getting my workout in, rushing home, being a stay-at-home mom, and all the stuff that comes along with it. But eventually I hit a burnout, and so I just needed to like change things up a bit. And so then I competed in bikini to start out with, and fast forward to today, this year I have changed my category to figure slash fitness. And so here we are.
No, I love that. And it's definitely a journey. Like everyone has like their own way of coming into competing. And I think that it's, a lot of times, I relate to that myself. Like getting into competing was to challenge myself further because I was just kind of like, okay, well, I've been doing this X amount of time and I just got into lifting weights more. And I was like, okay, let's see where this can go.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
I mean,
well, I love
for
that.
me, it was basically a motivation issue,
Yeah.
burnout, just hitting burnout mode. And, I lost probably about 30 pounds, so, you know, before I decided to start like really taking like the bodybuilding side of it seriously. I just needed to get my health back on track. Because, and in the past, before I had gotten pregnant, I was diagnosed with stage 4 thyroid cancer at the age of 19. But I battled that for about 10 years. Like it was never completely gone. Like they had removed my thyroid and all that, but I was still out partying and just living life. And so like things needed to change. And now that the fact that, I had a family and, I really didn't have any excuses, right? Or I had all the excuses now to buckle down. But before it was just like, I'm young and who cares, right? And so nothing changed, but it was time for a change. And so that's basically where it all started. But eventually I hit burnout mode and I didn't want to go backwards. And so I had to look for something else, but keep, fitness and nutrition front and center. Um, and then find something that's going to help me, keep that front and center. Now, do I recommend bodybuilding for everybody or competing? No, I'm not saying that you have to do it, but there's always options, to fix your burnout. So always reassessing, right? Figuring out what you really want to do or what's going to be a good addition to what you're currently doing.
Right. And I think that's a good valid point to add in there too, is like competing's not for everyone, but it is really kind of finding like what is going to work for you in that aspect, depending on where you're at with things and kind of where your motivation is at and like what you're working towards. And it gave you that kind of outlet, I feel like, at that time. And now look where you're at.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I did want to ask you, what were there any misconceptions about competing your first time, like anything going into it, and you're like, whoa?
I mean, not really. At the time, I didn't really know much about it, right?
Yeah.
I just saw Debbie, who is one of our coaches here on the team, at the time, like that's how we met. Actually, we met at the gym. Started with a photo shoot because I was doing photography and I thought that she was just like amazing being her age. Well, back then she was like what, 56, I think. And she was just starting to get in her competing era, right? And so I was like, oh, let's do a photo shoot. And so we did that. That's how we met. And then she was like, you should compete. And I was like, compete in what? Like, I had no idea what she was talking about. Anyway, so she was like telling me about how she competes in bikini. I was like, oh, that is so cool. And so I was like, I'm game, let's do this. And so I found a coach, once again, didn't really um do my research. I just had known her from previous years, like, and we used to live in the same town and I knew who she was, but I didn't even know that she did what she did. And I just saw her like come across Facebook and I was like, hey, I'll just reach out to her. She prepped me for the show, but there was definitely a lot of like hype moments when I shouldn't have been hyped, if that makes sense. A lot of misleading information for sure. And all I can say is like if you're somebody that's like getting into the sport and you've thought about competing but you haven't really pulled the trigger on it yet, like ask all the questions. Ask all the questions before you commit to someone or something because it's like there's so much that goes into it. And I mean, it was an eye opener. It was an eye opener for me, just going behind stage, not even getting on the stage, but just like going behind stage where all the competitors are, you thinking that you're like absolutely ready, but in reality, you're not. Um, and I mean, it was a fun experience, like all around. Like I was just hyped just to be there, you know, um, and all the glam and all that stuff. But yeah, I don't know. My whole experience first time out was just, it's not something that I would wish upon anybody. Let's just put it that way, because there's different ways that you could approach it.
Yeah. And I think, when you're getting into it, you are really hyped for your first time experience. And usually, like, if you didn't have the help that you needed to get there, you usually get backstage and you're like, oh shoot, you feel like you don't belong there, right? Because I know I didn't have a coach my first show. I was winging it. So I relate in that aspect that I was just not ready. You know what I mean? So I got backstage and I was like, whoa. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing here. But
Yeah.
I mean, it was a good experience overall because obviously I competed again. And I was like, okay, let's do it better this next time. So I'm sure there were a lot of things that you learned from that first experience.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like, number one thing is when you go find a coach or find a coach to get started, like, don't just find one coach. Like, you need to find a few that either you've been following for a while and you watch their content, you follow them, or you just like really um did your research on them, right? And what their athletes are like, or, and stuff like that, and what their protocols are. Like, have those consults, and ask all the questions because, not every coach like, is not for that individual. Um, and you might get signed up and then think, well, I'm stuck with them now because, I signed contract or whatever the deal is. But so you want to make sure that you are kind of, you are aligned with them. And for me, it was like, I don't think I was personally aligned with my first coach, but I just stuck it out anyway because, like I said, I didn't do my research. I just jumped into it and I said, okay, we got an October show. We're doing this. I knew nothing about what I should actually look like. Like, I didn't have any muscle on me whatsoever. I shouldn't even have been getting ready for a show. I should have actually took a serious couple 2 years to build towards the stage, you know? And none of that was talked about. None of that was, between coach and client. Like, we never talked about that. It was just like, yeah, I'll help you. Let's do this. And here's your meal plan, get your workouts in, check in with me, blah blah blah. And so I did it, being first time competitor, because like I said, I didn't do any research. I just
Right.
listening to outsider people telling me you should do this. Oh, that's cool, let's go, let's do it. Finding myself a coach right off the bat because it was the first person that crossed my screen, and then voila, I just ran with it. And looking back now, because I've competed so many times with different coaches, and I'm actually kind of happy that I did it the way that I did it, because now as a coach myself, I can like tell people straight up, like, this is what I'm saving you from. So if you don't like, you know, what I'm saying now, it's only going to help you get ready and look the way that you want to look, that you're telling me, to get ready for the stage. I would rather tell somebody that they're not going to be ready to step on stage, and I would rather tell them, look, I would like you to grow for a good year, instead of having them get up there, still look good, but not competition good, right? And then they'd
Right.
be disappointed.
Yeah.
Because there's so many things feeling wise coming out of a show. Doesn't matter if you've competed before or not, like, just the emotions all around anyway. And then you add on the emotion of like feeling defeated, feeling lied to, feeling like you just weren't prepared. Like, that is just like, it's not fun, it's just not
Right.
fun. So
Yeah. No, and I hear you on that because it's like, I think there are coaches out there that would love to take your money, right? At the end of the day. But there's also other coaches who are just very honest about the whole process. And it's like, do you
yeah,
want to compete to be competitive and you just want to step on stage? Or do you want a coach that's going to be honest with you about where you're at and where you're headed? So you
Yeah.
kind of have to make that distinction. Everyone's going to be a little bit different. Some people will come in and they're just like, this is a bucket list item. I really just want to step on stage, and I know I may not be competitive. Okay, that's one thing. But us as coaches who are more honest about the whole, process, are going to want you to be set up for success, right? And so I think it
Yep.
really comes down to being really honest and having those conversations. And that's why we say talk to multiple coaches, because everyone has their own process of doing things, but also just to get a feel for like what each coach is going to tell you in that too, and who you're going to vibe with the best.
Yeah. And, like also too, and I think the reason why I kind of just like jumped into it personally for myself was, not only just to keep the motivation, right? But also just to say that I competed. And so I was one of those that started out as I am competitive. I've been a competitive athlete my entire life. However, this whole bodybuilding thing is just like new to me, right? And so I was just like, I just want to do it one time. Let's see how all that worked out for me. I mean, there's a lot of them out there that say I want to just compete one time and one time only. That's
Right.
I mean, there's a lot out there, which is great. And they do it and they stick to that. However, my one time turned into 8 times, and
Yeah.
I'm still here, still going. Now I'm coaching, and so it's like it just turned into a whole world of other things, and I'm okay with it. Now,
Right.
however, the people around me that always say, I thought you were just gonna do this one time, and I'm just like, things happen. I don't know.
Right. Like we never expected to be a bodybuilder or be on stage or compete again. Usually we're like, let's try this out, see how it goes. And then here we are. So
I
you
didn't
never
even
know.
start lifting weights until I was in college. Like, I never lifted weights in high school. I had no idea how to do any of that stuff. And I played soccer in college, and that was the only reason why I was in the weight room 2 days a week. And it was only because our coach made us go in there, you know, 2 days a week to train legs. And other than that, I had no idea about anything about lifting weights and stuff like that. And I wish I had, because I played all the sports in high school and I was very athletic and very competitive, but I feel like if I had somebody that said, "Hey, you need to get in that weight room and you need to go lift because you're too scrawny, and if you want to go places, you need to put on a few pounds." And get, the strength that you need to play these sports and be successful, and um but I never had that. And so all that was like new to me, and now it's like a whole new world for me. Like, I'm almost 40 years old and I'm over here like, I wish that I had this 25 years ago, you know and so it's crazy, but things happen for a reason, and
Exactly.
here I am. So just hitting it hard.
I love that. What was your first time experience post show? I know we kind of like led up and kind of your show day experience. What was it like for you post show at your first time?
First time experience post show, I think a lot of anger. It was not so much the sadness that everybody like really experiences, for like the post show blues and stuff, but first off, it was like the first night. Go out with family, you eat, you do all the things that you've been waiting for the last 4 or 5 months, um, and you enjoy your time. And I was happy with everything. I was just excited to get on the stage, to actually get up there without falling, because I did never really walk in heels leading up to that point. Like, there was just a lot of things that I would call wins, back then, just starting out. But I think as the weeks went on post show, I was just kind of like irritated and angry, because then like the more that I started like really like reviewing everything, reviewing my footage from the stage and everything, I was like, why did my coach never tell me not to get up there? Because if you saw if you saw how I was walking, if you saw how I was posing, let's not even talk about the physique. Okay. The physique was just skinny, whatever. I've seen worse. But the composure and the posture, everything, like it was not good. If I had a client like that, I would say, I suggest that if you don't get your posing and your walking dialed in by this certain amount of time, then push your show out. Unless you want to look this way in front of thousands and thousands of people.
Right.
Mind you, this stuff will be all over the internet on NPC News Online. So just because you don't post it, don't think it's not going to be there.
Fair. Fair.
So I just felt like, I was basically, I don't know, that I wasn't told the truth, right?
Yeah.
The entire time, even though I was asking, like, is this better? Do you think I'll be ready? Like all this stuff. Oh, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. You'll be fine is not like a legit answer to, are you going to be ready? Right? Like it's either
Yeah.
yes or no, And anyway, so that was like my first experience. Fast forward to like the second and third show, I was more, I had my posing more dialed in, and I had everything more dialed in. At this point, I had another coach. And, yeah, my physique was really lean, but once again, I didn't build much off of it. And so we could have built a lot more. You can always build more, but my post show attitude after those last two shows was a lot of just sulking. And it was just, I guess, sadness, disappointment, a lot of everything. Because by that time now I'm like, this was like my second and third show. Why am I still just not doing good at all? You know? But I feel like, you know, I don't know. I think my mindset was a lot different then than it is now, because even like this most current show, I was not taken back at all by anything. And it was probably one of my worst physiques of all time.
Well, granted, you had just transitioned from bikini to figure, right? So you've taken a long time off to purposely build, but you've also had some setbacks here and there. But with that, I think, your mindset does change and evolve over time, right? So those first, 3 or 4 or 5 shows, you might have been thinking about things a lot differently compared to like now. Because you had mentioned to me, like your last show, you're like, I'm just going to see how I do. I'm going to do this for fun, get back on stage and do a different division. That was all new to you, right? And I think that part was exciting. And it was like, you weren't setting yourself up for disappointment at all, because you were like, I'm doing this to see how well I do, and, just try out a different division, because you've done bikini all up until this point.
Yeah, exactly. And so I mean, yeah, like I went in just going, like I already knew I wasn't gonna do well. I already knew. It was a big, big show. One of the biggest shows I've ever been to. And I'm like, I don't care. I want to do this show. This is one show that I haven't done. And I took almost 3 years off just to build. And like halfway through that build, I was like, I'm not built for bikini. I don't think this is for me. And I'm just like forcing my physique into a category that I have been competing in for the last 4 years or whatever. And I'm still just not liking it. It's not looking good on me. And so that's why I changed. But yeah, just going into it, I was just like, I'm gonna go in because I'm ready to compete again. Like, I'm tired of just sitting on the sidelines. It's been almost 3 years. I've been putting in the work. We've done everything. And I just want to see how it goes. And, it is what it is. Like, you just live and you learn from it. And I had a blast. Like, it was a fun weekend. It was a very long weekend, but I had fun. And I was super excited. Going into the show, probably the entire prep, like I was super excited for it, even though I ran into some bumps along the way. And we still had to take another direction because originally I was going to do fitness, right? And so I had a whole choreographed routine, and I had been working my butt off for the last year just trying to get the mechanics down for that. I had to find another coach as well to help me with that. And then it's extra outside of the gym. And so it's not just going to the gym every day and hitting weights and doing your cardio, let alone the nutrition. Like, now I'm training twice as hard because now I'm hitting the gym, and then I'm doing choreography sessions. And then, like, dancing is not my thing. I love dancing and I love watching it, but I don't do it. Like, I'm not, like, it's going to take a lot of work. I'm still not there. So, but I was trying to push really hard to get this choreography session done so I could actually perform it at the show. And it didn't end up that way. And that's okay, right? So we just fell back into figure because it's the same posing. Fitness and figure have the same posing. The only difference is, for going up on the night show is for fitness, you have to perform a choreographed routine. And mine wasn't done yet. Like, it was done, but I was not happy, nor was I feeling confident in performing in front of everybody without making huge mess ups. Like, it's fine if I mess up is one thing, but like big mess ups, like not being able to hit a single push up or falling on my head or something like that, because I was continuously, failing at those in practice. So if I can't nail it in practice, then I'm not even going to try to do it on the stage, but I'm still going to be competing. And so that was my mindset. Like, come hell or high water, I'm still going to step on that stage. And that's what we ended up doing. And so, yeah, it wasn't my best look, but at the end of the day, you live and you learn. And I think I know like what went sideways for, being on stage or whatever, for looking the way that I looked. But now we're back in motion, and we're just working on the next move. So just keep going. So yeah, I just think the mindset was completely different. And I had no intentions on being the best up there. Like, my intention was show up, brush the dust off. It's been a few years. Now you're in a new category. Go do what you remember. And that is knowing how to walk in heels gracefully, knowing how to smile, and knowing how to get up on that stage and just, feeling the heat from the lights, sweating your butt off, and holding your poses and not falling on your face. That's what I knew how to do. So that's what I did. And I didn't fall on my face. So
Right. No, I love it. And I think, it's a testament to say, like, there are different ways of like expectations for show day, right? Like, you can go into it a couple of different ways, right? your expectations were, I'm just going to get my feet wet again. I'm going to get back into it. I'm going to do a different division, see how I do, see how it goes. And, you know, you were set up better, I feel like, for success mentally that way, rather than being like, oh, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to crush it and I'm going to get first. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
it was a lot of the expectations for show day, and having realistic expectations, I think, helped to set you up for more success, right?
Yeah.
What would you
Absolutely.
say is, how would you say you help your clients best when it comes to show day expectations, but also post-show expectations, and kind of what to expect overall?
Well, first of all, I think it's important that, everybody should know that, like, there's only one winner, right? So you're not going to be the only one let down. If you lose, there's so many other ones behind you that lost as well. And so the fact that you can make top 5 is a win, right? Like, if you're standing up there at the end of the day on the stage with a medal in your hand, you should be happy. If this is your first time and you took second, third, fourth, or fifth, you should be happy. Because going in with expectations that you're going to win right off the bat, then, I mean, you're setting yourself up for failure, especially if you don't win, right? And those are really big shoes to fill. Not saying that it hasn't been done, but the people that win their very first show, typically they have been training for this day for a long time. And a lot of the athletes that I work with, they've been in the gym for a long time, but being in the gym and training for a bodybuilding show is completely different. And so a lot of them that I work with, like, we're still building their foundation, a really good foundation, to get on that stage. And so if you come in just because you're fit and you're like, I want to win, and this is a show that I want to do, and this is the timeline, chances are is you're going to be, not happy with your outcome. We can try and we can do everything to get you there and, make you look your best, the best, or on show day or whatever, but the outcome might not be what you want it to be. And so I always tell my athletes all the time, like, it doesn't matter how good your physique is, because I can see it. I know your physique potentially could be a winner, but at the same time, you don't know who's showing up on stage. There might just be that one other person that is just that much better than you, has a better physique than you, just by better glutes or better delts or something simple. But you never know. And so go in there, like you want to win, like you on the stage, go in there being comfortable, happy, excited to be there, and all the above. And then at the end of the day, you should be happy where you're at. Like, and some people can do that, and some people, it gets the best of them, but they end up pulling out of it, and then they reassess everything and they come back with a fire in them, and they're like, let's do this. Like, I know I placed 5th, but let's shoot for my pro card within the next few years. Okay, let's do it. Like, that is a reasonable goal. You know what I mean? But thinking that you're going to win your first show, go to nationals, win your pro card all in the first year is, it's a great goal, and it does happen. However, it might not just be the right priority right off the bat.
Well, and that's one thing to say too, is like, it does happen, but the chances of that happening for your first year of competing is very slim, right? We know that. And so, like, it's a great goal to have, and eventually you will get there. but you also have to kind of like get yourself into the bodybuilding world too, right? And
Yeah.
depending on your physique and how long you have been building and all the other factors that go into competing, you really don't know. You can't control the outcome for that day, right? You can do your best and you can do your training, your nutrition, your posing, and bring all of that, you know, and control that for the stage, but you can't control who shows up that day. So it really
Yeah.
just depends, you know, who shows up and what the judges see that day. You really can't control the actual outcome per se.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, like I would love to win a pro card. Like that is one of my all-time. However, I know right now is not my time. Like, and who knows how long it's going to take me to get there. But eventually I'll get there. And the year that it's going to happen, I will know that it's going to happen. Does that make sense? Like, just because like I'm a realist and you know, people always say, "Oh, you're your own worst critic." Well, actually, okay, you can be, sure, but however, I see things. I know things and I know how my physique is. It's not a pro card winner right now. And so for me to get up on that stage, and if I was to get mad because I took fifth place, why? Like why am I mad? I shouldn't be mad. Like I already knew that I'm not a winner condition right now. You know what I mean? So I mean it all comes down to mindset, honestly. Um and just putting real expectations out there. It's okay to, you know, take extra years to build into something, you know, that you're gunning for. And you know, sometimes it takes people 15, 20 years to even win a pro card. Sometimes it takes them a year. Sometimes it takes them their first time. Like that's not me though. I'm not that person. And I already know it. So I'm not even gonna try and put that expectation on me. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's a lot of, again, setting that realistic expectation and knowing like where you're at and what is a competitive standard, right? Like, you know yourself, you're not quite at that standard or that level yet, and that's okay. You know, everyone has their own reason for competing, and it's not to say that you won't get there. You are working towards that actively, right? So it's like, you're being realistic about it. Not everyone, I feel like, can do that sometimes, especially with their first show, right? We see this a lot. And they go into it like, oh, I'm gonna, you know, like I'm gonna be so good and all this stuff. Not to say that they won't do good, right? But to be at that very competitive standard is a whole nother level of, you know,
yeah.
physique and everything else that went into that. And depending on, you know, their background and everything, you have no idea. And genetics play a part of that too. But yeah, I think,
Yeah.
you know, you've had realistic expectations from the beginning, and for some people, you know, that doesn't come as easily. I feel like, and I think it also depends on your coach and who you have supporting you along the way. You could have a bunch of people supporting you, friends and family, but they don't understand bodybuilding, right? Usually it's a coach that's going to be honest with you, that is going to help to reel in the reins a little bit and not just, you know, be your hype person, if you will, to better explain that.
Yeah.
But I did want to ask you too, is other than, you know, you going through post show and, you know, how that has changed over time and your mindset with that, what would you say is like one thing that every first time competitor should do within the week after their first show?
I mean, I just hop back on plan. Like take that like day or two or whatever with your family and enjoy, you know, the food that you want to enjoy that you've been planning on enjoying for a while. But hop back on plan right where you left off and keep that steady momentum going for the next couple months. Um, because if you can reverse successfully, then chances are you're going to have a better outcome, you know, bouncing back from your show and not gaining 50 pounds right off the bat and not having crazy hormones all over the place and potentially beating the cycle of depression. Um, and just stay active, like get back on your plan, just keep doing the things that you were doing, but more freely, if that makes sense. Um, and and some people can have those meals that they've been waiting for, right? And then they can hop back on plan right away without any issues. But some people take one bite and then they run with it for the next 2 months and they can't stop. If you're that particular person, like I suggest you just stay on plan. you know Definitely, like, in your reverse, your food's going to go up, and so slowly, though, you don't want to introduce an extra 500 carbs overnight, but definitely bump it up a little bit and then eat the same stuff that you've been eating, or go outside a little bit and kind of, introduce some new foods that you were eating before, like peak week or whatever, but just in higher quantities. You don't have to gorge yourself, you know. But definitely live life normally as much as possible. You don't have to be a recluse, Um, but
Yeah, I think, there's a lot of that where a lot of people are scared post show, right? Because they're like, oh, I'm going to rebound. I hear all the stories, or I'm just going to binge and whatever. And that does happen. But I think a lot of that comes down to is having a plan post show, right? Having that accountability that you had going into show, also a little bit after your show, just to make sure that you are getting back on track and able to live life a little bit more normally, like we're talking about, like, especially if you're not having any initial plans for another show right away, right? If you're going to actually take some time to build, you should be able to go back to having a little bit of a normal life. You're going to still work out, you're still going to track your food, but you're going to be able to enjoy things a little bit more. You're not going to be so restricted. And so if you can successfully do that, then you're probably not going to have those tendencies to binge and go off plan and things like that. And the
yeah,
longer that you do go off plan, the worse it's going to get, right? The sooner that you can get back on plan, the easier it's going to be for anyone. And you'll probably just overall feel better mentally too.
well, and I think, for me, because so speaking from experience, like my first show, I was off the hinges post show. Like I ate anything and everything, didn't care. I probably gained 15 pounds in 2 weeks, and that was all just solid food belly because I couldn't go to the bathroom. Um, my second show, it was the same way. I ate a dozen donuts to myself because I could, because they were there. And so I ate it. And I mean, they were big donuts. They weren't small ones. And that was another thing that, like, um, I couldn't go to the bathroom for weeks because it was all donuts, like nothing else. Um, I don't recommend that. If you're going to eat a donut or two, fine. But if you can't control what you're putting in your mouth, it's going to wreak havoc on your body. Not only are you going to feel like trash, but you're also going to look not very good either. And then you get depressed, and then you get emotional about everything because, oh no, you just don't look good and all this stuff. So I don't recommend that. However, here I am, like 8 years later or whatever, and my last three shows, so 3 years ago when I did two shows back to back, and then I just did a show about a month ago. And so these last three shows was completely different. Like, I just wanted a normal meal after show. Like, I didn't really even care if I had a bite of cookies or donuts or anything. I wanted an alcoholic beverage, and I wanted just food, like, Like this last show, because we didn't get done till really late and I was just exhausted, we ended up having a burger and a margarita, which that was fine with me. I just wanted to eat, drink, and go to bed. Like I wasn't craving anything, you know? And a lot of people do get those cravings, but I was not craving anything. I actually could have just passed up dinner and everything and went to bed because I was just exhausted. And I don't know if that is just comes with the maturity of the sport, just doing it repetitively or whatever. I have no idea, but I think it has something to do with just the way you treat your off season, for one. And sure, you can have those treats and stuff in the off season, but you know, like do it moderately. Don't just like make it an everyday thing, right? Still eat what I always say, like eat what you're craving, but if it gets to be like out of hand, then make those foods that they fit for them to fit your macros. So you're still getting nutrients and stuff, and make your own recipes of that food basically with better ingredients in it, right? So you're still getting the taste and you're still getting um gratification from what you're craving, right? So that's what helps me from going off the rails in general is like if I'm craving something, then I will make something to fit that if I don't want the real thing, right? And so between that and then just I don't know, you know, just wherever my mindset was, like it definitely wasn't craving food or sweets or anything. Um so and that could just be stress and everything else on top of it, but I don't know.
It could be partially. I think part of it is maturity because you've done the shows where you have had and went overboard afterwards, right? And I'm sure you didn't feel great in doing so anyways. So I
No.
think a lot of it is kind of maturity from that. Like you've learned your lessons and you're like, okay, let's not do that. Like I am going to enjoy. I did work really hard and I got myself here and I'm going to go enjoy, but I don't need all the extra stuff, right? It's not that you were like, oh, I'm craving X, Y, and Z and I need to have it. It was just like, I'm going to enjoy this and move on with my day,
Like a sweet protein bar was literally like the one thing that basically was like my favorite post show indulge. It wasn't even an indulge because I ate protein bars every day. So, but just having a sweet protein bar was like you know, it was fine. That was just what I wanted or needed or whatever. Like I didn't need anything crazy. And it was, and now here we are a month later and I get cravings, but I think that's normal. We're doing normal things now. So it's like, if I get bored, I get cravings. If I sit too long, I get cravings or whatever, but that's normal. So
right. What would you say are your plans now after your last show? What are your plans, say for the rest of this year or to compete again?
yeah, so no, I plan on competing again this year, probably in October. I have a couple shows lined up. And I really want to try and get my choreography down and done. So I can perform it on stage in October. We still have a few months, so we're golden. But this summer I'm training at least 2 times a week in gymnastics, and so I will be splitting my gym time with gymnastics. So I can, better my routine for the stage, and just get stronger overall and be able to hit my moves the way that I need to. And so I'm going to try and do the gymnastics gym 2 days a week, and then I'll do the gym probably 2 days a week. So
that's exciting. I can't wait to see you on stage for fitness, and it would be fun. It's definitely very different. I don't know anyone else who does fitness, to be honest, but I want to see you on stage.
Yeah, there's not a lot out there. Like that category is kind of slowly going away, which is sad because it's so cool to watch.
Yeah.
But it's exciting, and yeah, I can't wait to get on stage to do it either because like I was just like for a full year I've just been like, I'm doing this. I want to do this. Like I don't know if I can, but I'm going to.
You're like, I'm gonna
There's
do what
just
I can. We'll see.
there's a lot that goes into it. Like it's insane. Like props to these ladies that are like 45 years old and rocking the stage doing this stuff.
Right.
Like I'm just like it's crazy. So
Right.
um
Well,
it
yeah.
gives me motivation for sure.
Right.
So yeah.
Well, I'm excited for you. We look forward to it. Here, all of our team is cheering for you, as you know. But where can anyone find you to kind of follow your journey along the way?
Yeah, so you can find me on TikTok, at 406 Fit, I believe, and then you can find me on Instagram, and you can also find me on Facebook
Awesome.
or out in
Awesome. Well,
public if you see me.
there you go. Well, of course, it was great having you to talk about post show and just kind of your competition experience and knowledge up until this point. And, if anyone is looking to compete, Stephanie is there to help you. You can always reach out to her and schedule a consultation or follow her journey, going into the fitness division. But yeah, we're excited. If you have any questions watching this, feel free to leave us a comment or reach out to either one of us personally, and we'd love to help you.
Yay! This was fun.